like I'm not sure why there's all these issues with addressing public uh, illness during a lockdown where there's like this really spreadable influenza. This is the time where you're supposed to be more open than not, but it kind of like pushes me towards this idealism that the whole Western culture, it makes China so sick, is why they keep releasing things out of their country like SARS, and then there was one other thing before then. I think like Ebola, that came out of Africa or China. It's not, doesn't matter because this is the corona, the third one that's come out of China, and they have like no like regret, and they're probably back there mixing up a fourth one just because for it allows them to get ahead of the world because they've created more billionaires in their culture and country during the lockdown than ever in the whole globe combined. All the billionaires together, more of them have been made in China compared to all of the billionaires in the world added together. And then even if you're not in the billionaire club, the luxury items that are just spread across the land during the lockdown is prevalent. And this is because they hold zero disregard for the rest of the countries because of, once again, the Western culture that makes them feel so sick. Partially because they were the first society to ever form, and so they feel it's right for them to hold zero regret for lower standards. And this ties in with Hollywood and the red carpet, pretty much because we hold idols so up high, and then we hold our standards of like the average Joe, if you're not within the mainstream, as wrong if he speaks out from the norm. And why China doesn't really like the Western culture, just because they have the idols for one thing, because they don't have any of that. And then the second thing is because like freedom, the average Joe has like all these freedoms that they're in their culture would look at as like an instability, because they thrive off like having family and keeping it within the family. Like if you do drugs in China and then your family finds out, your family will turn you into the cops because they don't want to jeopardize their money, because their money is kept inside of their family. And that's why they're able to spread billionaires and luxury items across the land so easily, because if the families do whatever the government says, they open up the money and it floods through the families who are more subservient and less free, like freedom of speech. And yeah, that's why they don't like the Western people. Another thing why that the Western society is like bad is because people like do shut their mouths when others are like being open and transparent when it comes to like health issues. So like in mental health issues, people they'll like buy into it if it's like a soap opera and stuff, excuse me, but then like if it comes to like some gross thing like a virus, they'll treat it like China treats drugs in the family, where they'll not be open about it outside of their family. And this is bad in Western society because before the Western culture developed, it was the Indian Native American people, and before them around the globe it was probably all Neanderthals. And what the relation between the Neanderthals and the Native American people was that as tribe members, when there was someone who got sick or someone dealing with mental illness, they were open and helped each other like all around, because they had a tribe that had nothing to lose with social standards. So if you had like the weak link in the tribe and they were like acting kind of funny, then that would like develop into a worse thing for more people around the tribe, and then it would be like the close like weak link that would like negate from their consumership, which they would hunt and stuff, and the money would like not be going in through the tribe as much as if that person wasn't ill mentally or physically. But in the Western society nowadays, when someone's mentally ill, like, you don't really try and help them or address them because it could demote you from your job that you currently have, where like they could be seen as a conspiracy theorist, and now you'll get fired from your job if you are seen with them, because you'll look crazy for like aiding and abetting is what they call it in law. And there's another thing I want to touch upon, why they don't help you. So how did it all start? We have to trace back to the America being free, why they were the rebels at the start from England escaping King George because they wanted to claim their dependence and not be taxed by the king for nothing. And so that they fled, and then they said, we're independent and we have our freedom of speech. And then they started getting prissy after the years went by in Salem witch trials. They found all the outcasts that were kind of like weird and had mental health issues, and they started like hanging them and drowning them and burning them if they were like outcasts. And that's how they dealt with Salem, the witch trials. If you were looked at having those issues, you were called a witch, and that's legally where we started going backwards in the Western culture society. And so it's gotten so deranged where even like nowadays, like I was like hanging out with this one girl, and this was in college, and then like she was telling me about how she had these mental health issues, and that's actually why I was hanging out with her, because I'm attracted to that kind of thing. So she was like the one person I go up and start talking to build a relationship with, and she had to like tell me about how she went to like the psych ward 4 times, and I kind of like have already known people who have hurt themselves and then killed themselves, so I wasn't like amazed. And she was like going for shock value, like she had earned her stripes in going to the mental ward numerous times. And so I acknowledged her. I was like, oh wow, that's terrible, that's bad. And then it was just, that's all I had to say. And she's like, don't you even care? Like, isn't that like something that you find like egregious? I'm like, yeah, it's terrible. And she was just like really like dumbfounded how like I thought it wasn't like a terrible issue that she had been to those things. And that was like a grudge of like this Western society that I felt like she had been put through like a ringer, and she needed someone to have like sympathy for her when it really wasn't a ringer to sympathize over.